Hi, everybody. Welcome. Happy Friday. All right. So we are on training number 3 of the Zoom Proof Your Brand Challenge. And to start with, I just want to thank everybody for posting their pictures. I know that's not always easy to do, to kind of show up and be vulnerable like that. So thank you to everyone. Everyone is looking great. And we're going to further this process by talking about backgrounds and how to ensure that the story that you continue to tell does, in fact, stay on brand, whether it's your personal brand or the overall brand with the image behind you. So, let me start with a little bit of housekeeping stuff. There's a few things that I want to mention that have come up in either questions with clients this week or from the discussion group. And the first one is something I just forgot to mention last Wednesday. So one of the things that happens when you're starting to put yourself out there on Zoom and then you're repurposing Zoom. So let's say you do some sort of Zoom training or you do something another, and then you're going to go put it on YouTube or you're going to go post it on blogs. You're going to put it all these places. Then you start to notice very quickly if you have enough Zoom outfits. So at the end of the day, you may have, these 10 amazing things that are up on YouTube or that are all up on your um, Facebook page or wherever. And if you're not careful, you'll be like, oh wow, I wear that shirt all the time. So one of the just little tricks is to actually calendar your outfits. And this is something I forgot to mention the other day. And one trick, it's an app that I use with a lot of clients. It's called Stylebook. It's like $4 or something. And there are a bunch of apps, so you can find one that you like. But Stylebook has a calendar integrated into it, and you can actually create outfits and they stay in your style book, and then you can put them in the calendar and you can start using that so that you ensure that you're just putting a updated fresh look. And it's not about having 700 million new outfits. It's more about just making sure that the thing that people are thinking about is what you're saying, and not, oh, I have seen that shirt before. Oh, I have seen that shirt before 3 times. So we're just actually using it as an opportunity to keep people engaged. All right. The second thing I wanted to mention is the idea of batching your Zoom appearances. So, not everybody has the luxury to do this, but some of my clients do, and some of them do a great job of it. So, if you are going to be doing a coaching call with them on Zoom, there are specific days that they make available to do Zoom sessions. And so that may take some of the pressure off of feeling like, oh my gosh, how am I going to every single day, wake up and be Zoom ready? I mean, the idea is that you are indeed going to start showing up as the best version of yourself, but maybe you don't want to wear as much makeup as it requires to get on Zoom and have it actually show up. So, just one thought to put in the back of your hat, and for some of you it will work, and some of you it just won't be possible, is whether or not you can actually batch these appearances. So Tuesdays become Zoom day or whatever it is. Then the third thing I wanted to mention is a little reminder that I got from my son this week. So he comes home from school, and the first thing he says is, "Can I go play with the neighbor?" And I say, "Sure, let me text the neighbor's mom and find out if you guys can play." And he's like, uh, "Can I just go knock on their door?" And I said, "Well, why do you want to knock on their door instead of just waiting to see what the answer is?" And he was like, "Well, it just seems like a waste of time for me to stand here when I could knock on the door and find out immediately if it's a yes or a no." And I was like, "All right, I can't argue with that. Off you go." The point of this is we have entered this place where everyone assumes in order to have a meeting that we need to Zoom. And we got to take a little note from Davis and be like, is that actually the most effective way? So I know there is a call that I do in the beginning with all of my clients that really flushes out the foundation of your brand, and it goes really deep into who you are and the authenticity of you and what you're building. And I am much better not doing that call on Zoom. So people are always surprised because they're like, I was looking for the Zoom link. I'm like, no, we're going to use the old fashioned phone. So just a tiny little reminder that we are going to do our best to ensure that you are putting your best foot forward on Zoom. But then you got to ask yourself, like, use it strategically. Go back to whatever it is that you wrote down on Monday about what you want Zoom to be for you. And if it doesn't have to be a Zoom call, pick up the phone. So that's a little soapbox. Okay. One of the other things that popped up that I'm going to touch on really quickly is makeup. And this is always a challenge that is a really big deal because makeup is something that I think a lot of times we have an idea of that it's like either, we're covering something with it or we have to use it to look prettier or we have to, it's just this thing that we have to do. And some people love it and some people it's just not them. And so it is really important to think about the fact that if you never wear makeup and it's just not who you are, then no, it does not make sense for you to get on Zoom with a full face of makeup. I still stand by the fact of do it very simply with a tinted moisturizer and some mascara. But what I want to show you is this picture. I think I mentioned this the other day. Let me actually share my screen with y'all. I want to share the idea that makeup is actually a tool of engagement. Okay. So I'm not going to make this bigger because it messes up StreamYard. So hopefully you guys can see this and I'll try and maybe post the actual picture in the group. So this is, honestly, I don't know. This is the first book that I wrote, Simply Effortless Style from a million years ago. And I don't remember why I was doing this shoot, but I had to do this shoot and I had to hold the book and whatever. So the picture on the left is me wearing this blue dress. It's totally fine. I had these amazing shoes. I think at one point I had a belt on and I had taken it off and I had done my own makeup. So I actually had a decent amount of makeup on in that picture and you cannot tell. And so I got these proofs back and I was like, okay. I mean, the pictures are fine. There's nothing that I'm not gonna beat myself up over this picture, but it is not on brand. It is in no way a way for me to engage people. It's just me standing there with a book. So I very immediately redid them and learned this lesson and have shared it 1,000 times with people. And maybe that's why I had to learn it. But it's the idea that you're using these tools as a way to engage people and sort of show them who you are. So I added jewelry. I had my makeup done. I literally remember arriving to the photographer's studio and saying something like, I feel ridiculous. I have so much makeup on. But as you can see in the picture on the right, it in no way looks like I have too much makeup on. So I just wanted to show you guys that to sort of start to reframe the idea that makeup is just a tool and we have to figure out what is the right way for you to wear it. So, all right, let me get this off of there. All right. Oh, I see your comment. Your girl said, how come you're so fancy this week? I love it. Oh, is the feed still breaking up? Because I'm using this because I'm using these different microphones. So if y'all are still having an issue, let me know and I'll go back to my old microphone. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, y'all let me know if it's weird. Okay, so no issue. Okay, thank you guys. So let's start diving into this idea of backgrounds. I want to take a second and talk about virtual backgrounds because when I originally launched this challenge, I said no virtual backgrounds are allowed. And I want to be clear on sort of the thought process on a virtual background. I think they have a very specific use and can be extraordinarily helpful. I think the challenge with virtual backgrounds is it's hard to get all the pieces and parts and all the technology in a way that it ensures that you just don't look like you're sitting in a virtual background. So usually when you move your arms, there's a little bit of graininess. And so there are going to be times where a virtual background may be the way to go, but I highly recommend you actually stage something behind you that is on brand and you feel good in so that you have that option. And then, we can talk about whether or not the virtual background is going to be the right thing for you. So, all right. So the idea of the background is, if you remember, we've been talking about this idea that you're telling a story with Zoom. You've got sort of two pieces to tell the story with. One is with yourself, and one is sort of the environment around you. And when I was going through the 5 pieces of that make up your entire like brand image strategy, one of the pieces is this idea of a money making space. So just to recap, it's the personal brand, your online persona, having a cohesive looking team, a money making space, and then your brand experience. And so a money making space is all about creating an environment that gets the results that you want. So think about this kind of as you would, I mean, probably nobody thinks about this with a restaurant, but like use a restaurant as an example. And a restaurant is built, whether it is Michelin 5-star with like this incredible experience, or it's like Taco Tuesday where you're ordering 3 tacos and you're out in 10 minutes. Every restaurant is built to be a money making space. And the model is just based on how many tables they want to turn based on the experience that they want you to have. So you're kind of doing the same thing in a way. And the money making space concept, there's a lot that goes into it. But for the purposes of today, we're going to talk about it really with the idea of kind of environmental psychology in terms of what sort of space do you want to be in that's going to make you feel good and make you feel like the expert. And then from the other perspective is really like actually knowing your audience and being clear on what your brand actually offers them. So a real simplistic way to think about this is the, juxtaposition between Walmart and Target. So you've got people who won't set foot in Walmart, and you've got people who probably aren't setting foot in Target. And it's because they're valuing different things. So Walmart's promise is a lower price. Target's promise is basically a joyful shopping experience. And so the way that they create their space to do that is pretty different. The lighting is different. What the people wear is different. If you got on a Zoom call with the president of Target, and let's say they were in just like this completely sterile, boring environment, you'd be confused because you would be expecting this like joyful, sophisticated, yet approachable type of environment. So that's what we're trying to do is you're gonna work to get clear on 2 things. And that's really like, what does your customer truly value? Is it, we're just gonna stick with the Walmart Target example, is it the lower prices, or is it the joy of the everyday experience? And then you're going to look at what is the environment that is most strategic for you to sit in and be around. And also, how is that going to translate for the customer? So we're going to start with real basics here, and that's just about positioning. And a lot of you may have already worked with this, but I want to just kind of run through them really quick. So number 1 is your camera. Like, where is it positioned, and is it positioned in a flattering way? So if you're using a laptop, you got to put it up on a box, or it can be books. I mean, I've used ridiculous things when I've been just when we were traveling over the summer, and I was, in a beach house that I didn't have the desk. I would stack all kinds of books and a stool and all these things to get the camera at the right height. And the idea is that the camera should be like right above your eye level. And that does mean if you're using a laptop, you may need an external keyboard. You may need a few other things. You may need another monitor to make it so that this is actually going to be a system that works for you. But the ideal placement is right above eye level. Now, what's happening a lot, and we're seeing it especially when people are sort of attending Zoom workshops and things like that, is, people are writing and they're just literally using their laptop to be present. And so I'm going to move my screen. That's why I'm wearing these headphones. You start seeing like all kinds of stuff. You see ceiling fans, you see their ceiling, and then it becomes just a joke of like, thank goodness they have their name on there, because you don't even see them. You just see their ceiling fan. I had a friend tell me that she was teaching a sales training, and one of the sales reps was in a hotel room. And so, think about how a hotel room is set up. The desk is in front and the bed and stuff is in the back. The bed's not made. None of these things are actually taken care of. So you got to make sure, A, your positioning is right. And then your placement, anything that's like closer to the camera gets bigger, further away gets smaller. And I mean, I know that's not rocket science, but when you look at something and you're like, oh my gosh, it like just my boobs showed up on the camera. I don't have that problem because I don't have any boobs, but anyway. Or like, oh, my forehead is just, you got to really think about your positioning. And that's going to be all about your chair height, how you're sitting in it. One of the really easy tricks to making sure that you have good posture is, I know maybe it was Connie, somebody said that they actually just stand up. I mean, that's great, but that might not be doable for all day. Putting pillows behind your back, sitting on pillows, like you can kind of create this. Now, that is not, in my mind, realistic for a day when you are going to be on Zoom all day and you have meeting after meeting. So you have to figure out what is going to be this happy medium where people aren't looking up your nose, they're not looking at your ceiling fan, but they're mostly having a flattering angle. So you have to kind of play with that. All right, let's talk about the background. So one of the things, we got to see some backgrounds from the picture. So thank you, everybody. And that's actually going to be the challenge for today, is actually going in and restaging your background. So what I want you to think about is go back to the values that you exist to help people with. And then you got to set the stage to highlight those values. So I'll give you an example. I was talking to somebody yesterday and we were really diving into their core values, and we extracted the fact that they really exist to deliver happiness. Okay, so they exist to deliver happiness and sort of empower people's lives for their clients. So then we flipped it around on the business and we started looking at all the pieces in the business that, and asked whether or not it was delivering happiness. And one of the first things was, okay, you're sitting here on Zoom and you look great, but we have a lot of stuff in the background that is distracting. So you got to make sure that essentially all the stuff, all the cords, manage the space so that you control exactly what is behind you. And then you're going to paint the picture. And one of the easiest ways to do that is with art. Flowers, fake flowers are probably the best. You can change them out and they show up really nicely on camera. Even for photo shoots, we use a lot of fake flowers. Books that are stacked like flat, not up. Those are really good keys. You can go to Lowe's and do stuff like, you go in the section where they have, I don't want to say like fake tile, but it's almost like backsplashes. You can create almost a look behind you with like reclaimed wood. You can do all sorts of things that sort of give a nod to the aesthetic that is aligned with the brand values. Plants, those are huge. So one thing that I'll tell you is a good trick for this is if your brain just isn't into designing, or you haven't, you just don't have anybody that's going to help you kind of like get this inspiration, literally Google styling a bookshelf or style a shelf for inspiration. And it's going to show you just, various styles of bookshelves, and you can start to pick and choose things that you really like. And honestly, you can walk around your house and you may find a lamp, you may find a plant, whatever it is. And then when you're staging stuff behind you, you want it to have dimension. So try and find things that are different heights and it's not all just like right behind you. It gives a little bit of dimension on the left and the right of you with things at different heights. So those are just some really small tricks to help you. What else have I seen? Fabric. You can actually hang fabric. You can frame fabric. You can literally just paint one part of your wall. You can get a bulletin board and essentially create almost like a brand mood board that makes sense for your brand and your clients and whatever you're doing. And that's what hangs behind you. So there's lots of various ways that you can control the space. And if you just don't have the space to create something behind you, I would rather you almost have a blank wall. There's a guy, what is his name? He's like an SEO expert, Neil Patel, that's his name. When he does videos, he has a completely white background. Y'all can Google him and look at it. And so all you have to look at is him, and all you have to focus on is his message and what he's saying. And there is value to that if you can't create and stage the right thing behind you. So I would rather it just be almost completely plain, and then you just have to control it with the lighting. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, hold on. Let me jump over to comments because I know people are breaking up. All right, I don't know why, but if we have to re-record, we'll do it. Okay, so what I want everybody to do for the challenge homework, one of the biggest challenges of doing a challenge like this is that each one of you are doing a very unique thing. And so your setup is going to look totally different than everybody else's, and it has to be realistic for you. It has to be realistic for your ability to, sit and Zoom for a period of time. So everybody's is going to look different. But what I want you to start with doing is really plucking out, what are the values that you are giving to clients, like that you exist to give to them. And I want you to figure out what aesthetics will align with that. So go back to Walmart versus Target. Walmart's lighting is like kind of dim. It's fluorescent lights. It's almost like more low budget. Everything in Target is almost the opposite. So if you are this business that is super detail oriented, you use technology to make the entire experience streamlined and as fast and the best that it can be, then you need to ensure even a detail like the camera that you're using, that the placement is correct, but then it's also a good camera. So you're just looking at every single detail and making sure that they are indeed aligned. So start thinking about that. And then what I want y'all to do is just take a little before shot of where you are now and move things around. Go walk around your house, find books, find plaques, find stuff to hang on the wall, find a fake flower, and set it behind you and start just playing with it. And again, take another screenshot. And that's going to be your last challenge. And what we'll do on Monday is announce a winner and then give you details about the actual workshop that somebody will win an opportunity to join us for. And that workshop is going to dive into the stuff that we can't do in this limited time here, which is really get specific on how to be strategic for you and your brand. So that's going to be the challenge. There is no workbook, so you don't have to do that. The other thing I wanted to mention that somebody just reminded me of is I've had a couple of people ask me if they can get their team on here to watch this. And they totally can. I think the easiest way to do it is I believe that you can actually invite people from the group once you're in there. And if not, just have them request to be a part of the group and I can let them in. And then they can actually go back and watch the trainings. So that might be one option. And then the key will be for you to go back and put in your specific brand messaging and your specific way of how you're going to brand alignment to share that with the team. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay, hopefully we discover that this feed was okay. And if not, we'll re-record. But hope everybody has a fantastic Friday. We're keeping this short and sweet because now the job is to literally just go zhuzh what you have. It's not about perfection. It's about keeping everything aligned with what you're actually doing. So let me know who has questions and I will be announcing everything on Monday. So pop into the group and see who wins. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good day.